lands, the farmlands, well, I'd say some prosperity here in Tennessee, outside of Chattanooga. And we are arguing that you should love your neighbor and that you should buy local. We have a local-centric, Nooga-centric perspective. And they call me the blogger with the biggest pen because I'm a writer and just somehow, by God's providence, ended up in the radio business, and here to serve you every day for just 5 minutes. That's all I ask for, 5 minutes of your time. And we will have a better understanding and actually hope. We'll have, I would suggest, more hope in our breasts at the end of a chat with people such as Roderick Talley. Now, Roderick Talley was sleeping very, very soundly that one very early morning when an explosion from a bomb blew up outside of his apartment door. And the door was thrown upon him as he lay in his bed in a very small apartment in Little Rock. A moment later, there was dazed. He had a machine pistol, probably a Heckler Koch 9mm, maybe it was a .223 caliber military-style assault rifle, aimed at his face. And the good people were there calling on Roderick Talley, the good people in the Little Rock Police Department who, as Roderick will tell us, were operating under a true and valid warrant. Roderick, what was the story? Why were they there that amazing and exciting morning not too long ago?
They were there, as I found out, probable cause affidavit. They were there because they said that I had sold a cooperating individual, or we, as most people know him as a CI, I had sold them a $100 worth of cocaine, and that 3 detectives observed this happening, saw the drug transaction, saw me opening my door, and seen, the entire situation go down, and that's what got them the no-knock search warrant.
Well, were these things true?
No,
that they allege.
They were caught by my camera, my surveillance system, Vivint. Doorbell camera actually caught the informant outside of my door, knocking on my door, and no one ever coming to the door because I was at work during the time that they came to my apartment. It caught him on camera, knocking on my door, walking away from my door, talking to himself, and then walking down to the end of my hallway, speaking to someone else, another voice who I wasn't able to identify.
Well, so what was that man doing? Who was he? Why does my listener need to sort of imagine him passing by your front door? Who was he? What happened then?
Well, as I found out now up to date, the guy's name is Kenny Ray Robinson. He's a habitual offender from Little Rock, Arkansas. He has over 8 or 9 felony convictions himself, which he has been basically working as an informant since about 2002. And as the situation unfolded with myself, they blew me out my door and I was taken to jail. Then later had the charges against me dismissed. I found out that this has happened to over 50 different people here in Little Rock, Arkansas. And with basically the same MO, $100 worth of cocaine, using this same informant because he's from Little Rock. So it's not uncommon for people to know who he is because he grew up there, so people know him. So officers are using him to walk up to people's homes, whether they're there or not, and in return say that he bought drugs and they supplied him with money. And then they're later getting a search warrant, no-knock search warrant at that, to blow down doors. And in some instances, it's not even $100 worth of cocaine. It could be a $40 marijuana sale, and they say it constitutes a no-knock search warrant, and they're blowing down doors because of it.
Well, Roderick, my listener is suddenly wondering, well, how is it that this man who was just an innocent man, you're a barber, right? You're a bachelor barber in your trade. And the listener's wondering, how can just a common person like that, who's the victim of a misguided SWAT raid, find out about other people? Let me ask you, what did you do to find out that they had been involved in these other cases? What drove you to care about these other people, to look at this really not just as gathering evidence for a lawsuit, but as kind of a report? You were kind of a reporter on the trail of a story, Roderick Talley.
Yes, sir. I guess it was just the lack of concern from other figures as far as attorneys, and I went to internal affairs. Like I really just wanted justice, and I've since filed a civil lawsuit, a federal civil lawsuit against the Little Rock city of Little Rock and the police department also. And the thing that bothered me was when I was just looking for a resolution. I just wanted, those officers that had done me wrong. I just wanted, something to be done to them. I wanted them to be reprimanded for what they did to me. And it seemed like nobody cared. Internal Affairs basically closed the door in my face. I went there twice and got no help. I went to different attorneys and tried to talk to them. Even the attorney that I had when my case got dismissed, which I later found out why he wasn't on my side, but that's another story. But I just getting closed doors. And then I thought about myself. I was like, well, it was too bold on camera for it to be the first time that they did it. So, it just made me want to find out, am I the only person that this could have happened to and why? And then as I started to look, I saw that.
Okay, well, what I wanted to do, Roderick Talley, what I want to do is the part that my listener is concerned about, wanting to look. Where did you go to find this out? How did you do that? Did you take time off from work to do that? Did you miss lunch to do that?
Yeah, I missed a lot of work. I filed Freedom of Information Act request with the city court to get records of all the cases that the officers worked on. Like I said, I'm just an average guy. I've never been to a law school a day in my life. Just me wanting to find out information and knowing the information is out there. The internet, I tell a lot of people, the internet is your friend. Like for a lot of things you don't know, there's a lot of information on the internet that will tell you the steps to find out things that you need. And that's what I did. I just hit the ground running. I got copies of those cases. I missed lots of work, just sitting at home, putting in hours into combing through cases, just trying to find the things that were in common that looked like my situation. And then, like I said, I just kind of in my mind became my own attorney, because I know in situations I thought to myself that when you're dealing with attorneys, if ever whether it's criminal or civil, in most cases when it's criminal, if you get found guilty or they tell you the best thing for you to do is to plead guilty. If you get convicted and go to jail, you're going to jail alone. No attorney's going to go with you, and they're not going to put any money on your books, no matter how much you pay them. So I felt like, if I'm going to take a chance with winning or losing, I'm going to take a chance on myself. And so I started searching the internet, reviewing cases, of situations that were similar to mine. And I just kind of put it all together myself.
And now you say you haven't read, prior to being attacked by and brutalized by this SWAT raid, you'd never read a legal book or read your state's rules of criminal procedure or anything like that, no, Roderick?
I had never knew anything. I always thought to myself, because it seems like everybody's a lawyer. Whenever you find yourself in some trouble, everybody has advice. But it seems like what everybody does is tell you to get a lawyer after they've given you advice. So, I always thought that if ever some trouble came, the best thing to do is to just hire an attorney and they'll handle everything for you. But when a situation arises with me where I trusted in an attorney and they told me the best thing to do for me was to plead guilty to a misdemeanor battery charge where I knew I hadn't done anything wrong and the victims never showed up at court. Well, my attorney urged me to take a plea deal.
They always do that.
Sir?
I'm just saying they always do that. Everyone seems to say, just plead.
Plea deal and not insisting me to, the case should have been dismissed upon the second time going to court. The judge only gives the state one motion to continue. And they filed theirs, and then I went back to court, and it was supposed to get dismissed. Well, my attorney filed a motion to continue for no reason. And told me I don't do people like that. I had informed him earlier that if he needed it, I would give him one, and basically screwed me. So I wound up with a misdemeanor on my record because of it. So I wasn't going to take that chance again.
So what you said to yourself was, I can figure this out. I just have to give some time and start asking questions and filing Freedom of Information Act requests, or in Tennessee they're called open records requests, getting the court documents, giving some time and learning how the system works because really it's a system that hasn't just oppressed you. It's really has oppressed thousands and thousands of people, as here in Chattanooga, in Little Rock, where you live, Roderick Talley.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's scary to know that, even after this happened to me, that they were still operating and doing this. Like just this year, between one of the officers in my situation, he has 13. Well, he hasn't been active for about a month now. I wonder why, but even after I filed my lawsuit, he has 13 no-knock search warrants he served this year alone himself. So I said it's almost scary, but I said most people don't have the time. They got life going on. They have to go to work. So when they find themselves in some trouble, they always feel like it's best to let somebody else handle the groundwork that needs to be done. Like I said, when it's my freedom that's on the line, nobody's going to go harder for myself than me. So I'm not going to roll the dice. Let's put my life in jeopardy. Let somebody else roll the dice.
And if you have, and let me ask you this though, why did attorneys not be willing to help you since you had grounds for litigation? They work on a contingency basis, 33% of the winnings, if you will, of the damages. Could you not find anyone to take your case on contingency, and you had to write your own lawsuit?
Yeah, the reason I went on my own, when I went to these attorneys, I had one guy that wanted to charge me, and I didn't have any money. I'm like, I just got my door blown out. I got kicked out of my apartment. I lost all my possessions. Like, I don't have anything. And other attorneys just kind of just either said they were busy or, kind of gave me the runaround. And one attorney told me, he said, if I could, I would represent you, but you're going to run into this problem here. Politics run Arkansas. He said, a lot of these people have, ties with the police, so they're not going to be willing to step up and do anything with the police. And then some attorneys I spoke with, they were kind of looking at the financial aspect of it. And I'm not for sale. What I went through, as traumatic as it was, I'm not for sale. And there's more people that's affected by this. So, trying to settle out for an amount of money and find a non-disclosure, which, where I don't get in front of some people and let them know what's going on, I'm not for that. I'm for justice. And I've been making it this far for less. So that amount of money is going to make me feel like I have to give up what I've found out.
So are you saying, Roderick Talley, that one person said, well, look, we might settle with you, but we have a non-disclosure requirement? And was that actually proposed to you?
No. What I'm saying is I knew myself with what I had in most situations with police, they will settle out as opposed to getting in front of a jury and especially with this kind of damaging evidence, allow it to go there. And I had attorneys that I spoke with who they were thinking the financial means was the way, for me to be okay. But I don't want to go that route. I want people to hear what happened, and I want them to be aware of what's happening and to have these officers at some point indicted for what they've done.
Well, you mentioned in a recent Facebook post, and by the way, you, my listener, will want to go there and give some encouragement to Roderick Talley. It's Roderick Talley, Talley, Roderick Talley, and his page will come up. He's in Little Rock, and you're mentioning in one of your recent posts that there are 3 detectives and involved in 30 illegal search warrants. How is it you determined that these search warrants were illegal, Roderick?
I called these people myself. Like, I used their phone numbers and I spoke with these people myself. And
which people?
Most of sir.
Which people are you talking about?
The people in the when I filed the FOI request, the defenders, people that had their doors blown down, I called them individually myself. And even in one instance, and it was the same officers on all of these cases, like the same officer, just about the same write-up of drugs. And then when they're going in, they're not finding what they say that they were sold. Like, they say $100 worth of cocaine, but they're not finding cocaine in the resident's home. Some of these people, they're not even finding drugs at all. But because they have prior convictions, if they find a weapon that's a gun in the house, that's a charge itself. So people, they're going in there on fishing hunt, and if they find something, they're charging it, but they're not finding what they're actually saying that the informant was sold.
And have any of the detectives written in the name of a judge? Tell my listener about your point on that.
I mentioned that I had one search warrant where the officer actually wrote the judge's, it's not even signed, wrote the judge's name on the affidavit, on the search warrant, on the probable cause affidavit and the search warrant, wrote the judge's name, and then he misspelled the judge's name. And the guy is sitting in federal custody right now because of a search warrant that was signed by this officer.
Well, what about support for what you're doing, Roderick Talley? Are there not Christian ministers in your neighborhood, in your part of Little Rock? I know you're just outside of Little Rock. are there not civil rights activists? Are there not men of influence who would say, look, there's a serious problem here and Roderick Talley needs some support? I tell my listener that if he does something like this, he is going to be completely alone. And yet it really shouldn't be that way. Well, so what kind of support have you had from others other than just jawboning on Facebook?
To be honest with you, I haven't. Like, my biggest supporters have been people that from social media. Like, I thank them so much. Like, they have been my biggest supporters. I tried calling the news, the radio. I tried calling the local NAACP chapter. I went to the ACLU of Arkansas, filled out forms, filed forms online. I have contacted just about everybody I could think off the top of my mind, state legislators. I've contacted everybody I could possibly think of. And I grew up having to fight by myself. I didn't grow up with a bunch of people around me to help me if I got in a situation. So I'm not afraid of anybody. You know, and to anybody else that has had this happen to them, like, don't be afraid. Like, they count on you to be afraid. They count on you to feel like this is too much for me. I don't want to go to jail, so I'll plead to this and just take probation. But the thing is, if you plead to probation, you get in any more trouble, they're going to lock you up. So I'm not hesitant to seek justice because I know they're not hesitant to put me in handcuffs. So when they do wrong, I'm going to attack them every time. And now that I know, like I said, now that I am attacking, kind of like when you hit the lights on and you go into your favorite cousin's house when they got roaches and you turn the lights on and everybody's starting to scatter now. I've been blocked by judges, the detectives, their family members. I've had people block me that I don't even know their name until I have to get information from them. Court clerks, everybody's blocking me and giving me a hard time about information that I need when it comes to this case. And I even had them to have to refund me money because they provided me wrong information. So I'm getting a runaround. And I tell anybody, don't be discouraged because you hit a brick wall. And I say, once again, I just want to thank everybody that's been supportive. They don't know how much it motivates me. I'm living in crazy conditions right now, just trying to be safe.
And so, Roderick Talley, my regards of you is very high because you are doing what I want my listener to do. My listener needs to set some time aside for what is really kind of a public duty. What you're doing is really more important than voting. It's really far more important than other civic virtuous things that we connect with. You know, being a good citizen. You are really trying to not bring just justice just yourself, but as you are a representative of these other 50 people, and then probably behind them, maybe hundreds or even thousands more in your town. And in one man standing and saying no is a terrifying thing to these officers and judges and clerks and functionaries of the judicial industrial complex in your city. They don't know what to make of you. You are standing by yourself and you're not letting go. And at some point they're going to have to give in because you are going to find out what you're wanting to, either through the lawsuit and subpoenas there. Or other administrative means, and so you really represent, I would say, thousands and thousands of people, and even among your own, well, I would say especially among your own race, which are the target of the worst kind of police abuse in your city and in ours here in Chattanooga.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I know what it's like to feel helpless, and to finally be able to get up. It's a good feeling to not feel. At times I am scared because I don't know. I know the links people will go through to cover things up. I mean, my doorbell camera was stolen off my door. So I know people will go through links now, and now that they know or aware of my video surveillance, I have search warrants where I see that they're now starting to seize people's surveillance cameras now to make sure that they don't get caught again, or if they have been caught, to make sure no one can prove it. So now they're seizing cameras now just to try to cover their own tracks. Same officer, Mark Eisen, who was caught on my camera, he's helping another detective to seize cameras now when they enter people's homes. So I say it's scary, but somebody got to stand up, and that's what I'm doing. So if something was to happen to me and I feel like it wouldn't be in vain. I feel like I'm doing all that I can do, try to be helpful.
So in your city. In your city, Roderick Talley, you have Mark Eisen, a notable man in blue, and then you also mentioned Dalton Schisler and Zachary Hardman on the Little Rock Police Department as notable men of courage, we should say, who are treating the citizens rightly.
Yes, Robert Bell, Travis Cummings, Lonnie Leakey. There's a list of them. I'll make sure I get them to handle.
Well, listen, I'm gonna have to leave it at that, Roderick Talley. Listen, thank you so much for joining us from Little Rock today.
Yes, sir.
This is David Torres. We've been talking with Roderick Talley, who is fighting back after an abusive SWAT raid against him. He's not a man to sit down, and he is offering you courage. David Torres.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A woman was stabbed in Chattanooga early yesterday, and now we're getting more details. Chattanooga cops say a